that Calcutta.
Yeah, Jishnuji, please now start. Yeah.
So I was saying today's incident reminded me of another incident.
Yes, please. Yes.
During 70s, this Calcutta was politically very charged place. You know, there were Maoist rebels and other things. And there is a very old, rather one of the oldest centers is in the heart of the city, which was in a very politically sensitive zone where police and these people, they used to fight, they used to throw bombs and each other. I mean, I've heard from my mom that it's like you cannot go out on certain days, things like that. So on this Saturdays or one of these days, so there used to be one person, his name was Anirban. He translated Life Divine into Bengali when Sri Aurobindo was in body. So, and he liked his translation. So he used to give either Savitri or Life Divine or this synthesis of yoga class sessions. So there was such a day where this bombing, etc., was happening, and from the center, so one of the person called. He said, Anirbanda, I don't think there will be any student today, so please don't come. So he said, but you are there. And they said, yeah, only I am there. He said, okay, so two of us will do this session.
Beautiful, beautiful. I've actually, there have been times where I've done only one-to-one kind of session because it happens, from time to time. Yeah.
The same happened with Amritada also at ashram class once when he used to go to teach. There was nobody at the class. So he said, okay, if mother had sent nobody, today I will teach myself.
That's beautiful, beautiful, very
So
inspirational.
don't cancel. Unless you have any reason, don't cancel.
Yeah, yeah, that's really very good. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. So let's start since we are here. I'll just, put it up. So there are two prayers. Let us see if we want to take both of them, or maybe not both today, only one. And a few thoughts to reflect upon. Maybe we can also share reflections on that. So anyone who feels ready, Jishnuji, Snehi, if you could just unmute and read the prayer for us. Feb 16, 1914. Snehi, you want to read? Do you have the audio okay? If you want to go ahead, else Jishnuji can read.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, please read this one, the first one, Feb 16.
February 16, 1914. O Supreme Soul Reality, True Consciousness, Permanent Oneness, Sovereign Repose of Perfect Light, with what an intensity I aspire to be conscious of only Thee, to be only Thyself. This incessant whirl of unreal personalities, this multiplicity, this complexity, this excessive, inextricable confusion of conflicting thoughts, struggling tendencies, battling desires, seems to me more and more frightful. I must emerge from this raging sea, land on thy serene and peaceful shore. Give me the energy of an indefatigable swimmer. I would conquer thee, however great may be the effort needed for that. O Lord, ignorance must be vanquished, illusion dispelled. This sorrowful universe must come out of its hideous nightmare and its terrible dream and awaken at last to the consciousness of thy soul reality. O immutable peace, deliver men from ignorance. May thy plenary and pure light reign everywhere.
Thank you so much, Snehi. So, Jishnuji, would you like to go ahead and share a few thoughts on this?
Yeah, sure. So I have, thank you, Snehiji, for reading. I have also not read this before. So I think recently in Ashram notice board also, they had put this prayer. Then Ashram notice board I was reading, and what struck me, they had put partially. What I liked is the reality which Mother has portrayed. This incessant will of unreal personalities, this multiplicity, this complexity, this excessive, inextricable confusion of conflicting thoughts, struggling tendencies, battling desires, seems to me more and more frightful. So I always say that we don't speak much about Mother's poetic qualities, but in this one sentence, right, this is one sentence, she has explained exactly what is happening daily in our life. We all are torn to different sides. We are all battling with desires, multiple personalities. Somebody wants divine, somebody wants something else, pulling us in different sides. And we all know one most important thing, that it is very tiring. It is very tiring when we are pulled from different sides. And I remember when I read this line, I felt that how beautifully compact, yet how she has portrayed the reality. This is exactly happening in each one of our life. Mostly. Seems to me more and more frightful. I must emerge from this raging sea, land on thy serene and peaceful shore. And Mother has always spoken that we have to find divine as our sole refuge, as our peace. I mean, we should find peace, happiness, whatever the higher elements. It has to be found in the divine. And she says, we all know. I mean, this is nothing that while we are repeating, but we all have felt, all the three of us here, or the wider team who congregates here on Tuesdays, we all have felt this touch whenever we are at ashram or at center, or when we are meditating on our own, anywhere. When we receive that inner touch, we feel peaceful. We are peaceful. And that is exactly Mother is saying. And when we are at that moment, mostly either do not have any thought, or we are offering ourselves to the divine. Either the thought is the divine, or whichever way, soul, something higher, or but we don't have that confusion. Momentarily, there is no confusion. And when there is no confusion, no conflict, it gives us peace. Give me the energy of an indefatigable swimmer. So give me the energy, and this is very important, indefatigable swimmer, because there's people who swim long distances, that the English Channel between France and England, that there is a channel, and earlier days it used to be the benchmark of long distance swimming. So people who used to swim that for hours, they were, I would say, hallmark of energy, because naturally one has to swim for hours continuously. So that energy is required for a tireless swimmer. I would conquer thee, however great may be the effort needed for that. And so Mother is saying, which applies to all of us, if we make that resolution, that I will find out thee, I will conquer thee, make you as mine, however great may be the effort required. Whatever be the effort required, I'm ready for it. Oh Lord, ignorance must be vanquished. And all these conflicting desires, all these multiple personalities, surface thoughts, we all know that it comes from ignorance. Let illusion be dispelled. Illusion is brother of ignorance. We are We have illusions because of ignorances. We have illusions because we don't know the real value of things. I always feel that we do not know what is good for us. We do not know what is of real value for us. And that is why we live under illusion. We give importance to wrong things, wrong people, wrong thoughts. The idea is we should give importance to all of them if we have sight. When we have that difference, when we have that true sight, we will be able to see the divine in everyone. But the thing is, we will exactly know what to do. And that is when we move beyond ignorance. If we see all these great people, that day Monica ji was also speaking about Meher Baba. If we see the life of all these people, they all worked in this world, right? They all worked with common men very often. They loved all of them, yet they knew what to do with whom. And why? Because they had the true sight. True sight comes when we go beyond ignorance. Though secularism is a good, and when I say secularism, is not in religious sense, though secularism, democracy is a good concept of mind, but when we have the real vision, we will be able to understand what is to be done with whom, what has to be done with what object, just like we know as we grow up. This sorrowful universe must come out of its hideous nightmare, end its terrible dream, and awaken at last to the consciousness, thy soul reality. So this world, this sorrowful universe is currently sorrowful. Mother Sri Aurobindo always has said that it is made for happiness or ananda, or made of also, but currently the state is not like that. It must come out of his hideous nightmare and end. This is a terrible dream. Why it is dream? Because it is ignorance and illusion currently. Those are the forces which are gaining falsehood. If we see open paper and all these things, mostly it is falsehood. What people are saying, what is written in paper, when I say paper, I mean newspaper, magazines. If we actually try to wait, and I'm not speaking of misinformation, I'm saying plainly, even what has been written, if you try to verify, cross verify, uh, go to that place and see what is happening, we all will feel that to various degrees of deviation of the truth. Some are willful, some are unwillful, some are mistakes, but they are there. End its terrible dream and awaken at last to the consciousness of thy soul reality. O immutable peace, deliver men from ignorance. So it is when we have that peace, it will deliver us from their ignorance. Or rather, wisdom or light is a condition of that peace. May thy plenary and pure light reign everywhere. That is also a condition, because currently we don't see that the divine forces are, and the pure light is reigning everywhere. It is the forces of dark, falsehood and light fighting among themselves. At times, partially some victories are done here and there. But let that glorious future manifest. That is what Mother is praying here. That would be from my side here.
Thank you so much, Jishnuji. Let's take a moment of silence and then we'll go ahead. So, thank you so much, Vishnuji, for elaborating upon the prayer. And I want to maybe take up a few words again, because I think we can go on reflecting. It would never be enough. Although what Jishnuji just shared, it was a beautiful elaboration of the whole prayer. But there is a couple of things that I want to kind of bring forward, especially these words, soul reality, that is nothing but that is real. what Jishnuji was sharing again and again, that ignorance is the basic root issue is that ignorance of our true nature. We don't know in essence who we truly are, and we identify ourselves with the surface consciousness, not only for some time but almost lifetimes after lifetimes we continue to do that. So this soul reality and true consciousness. So just like space, I think our true being of consciousness is also many a times related with space. So if there are 10 buildings in the space is shared by each one of them. And just like that, consciousness is like that vast, limitless space, or God's being, or the divine consciousness, and where our individual personalities can be related with individual houses. But each house has also space, and that's how we can keep furniture in the house, because there is space. But it is not the space belonging to that particular house, it's a space which is shared by the whole of us, all of us. So just like that, consciousness, divine consciousness, is like this limitless vast sky, and we share that consciousness. That's the shared being. We can say that when we say that the divine is one, and we all have sparks of divine, we all are sparks of divine. So in one sense we can also say that you have a knowing which knows a thought, knows a feeling, knows the sense perceptions of the body. I too have a knowing through which I know my thoughts, I know the sense perceptions and everything. And that knowing is our shared being. That consciousness is our shared being. And that's how we are all one. So Rupert Spira talks beautifully about this shared being, and I thought we'll just take a short clipping uh, from his teachings and just maybe look at it in terms of this shared being. So I'll just share it on the screen. Yeah, this one.
All experience is a movement or the activity of consciousness, a single, intimate, infinite, indivisible whole, appearing to itself as 10,000 things, but never itself being divided into a multiplicity and diversity of objects and selves, always a single, infinite, indivisible whole. Consider the possibility that when we experience beauty, that is what we are really experiencing. Our shared being with all things, that the world that seems to be outside of ourselves and separate from ourselves and made that of something other than ourselves, is in its essence identical to our essence. And love, likewise, is exactly the same experience, but in relation to people and animals rather than objects. It is the recognition of our shared being, our shared oneness. All that is necessary is to understand this and to lead a life that is consistent with this understanding.
So I think in my experience, it's not enough again and again to disidentify, as Mother says, because we are so habituated to identify ourselves with our thoughts, so habituated to get lost in the thoughts and believe in the images that the thoughts have, the feelings that from time to time are created, the moods that are created from time to time. We think that this is me. I am in a bad mood. I am sad. And it's amazing when we take the stance of awareness, when we take the stance of consciousness, when we knowingly know ourselves as consciousness, then I don't have to do anything about the loops of thoughts that seem to come again and again. I just have to notice them coming. And in that noticing, I have to realize that I am the consciousness that notices the coming and disappearing, and the appearance and disappearing. And in that knowing, somehow the right action always gets taken place. Like it's never that we would become passive and the right action would not be taking place. Because when we are centered, when we are calm and the mind is still, then always we have intuitive knowing of what to do and what not to do, what to say and what not to say. And we realize that most of the times we are just indulging in action or speech or words which are totally unnecessary and in fact lead to more entanglements. So I feel that taking stance again and again as this true consciousness, identifying ourselves with this true consciousness within, the one that sees the thought, the feeling, one that knows the thoughts, feelings, and whatever sense perceptions. That knowing is me. And when we know ourselves as this knowing, we feel really liberated. Because if there is a sad thought coming, who am I? I am the knowing of the thought. I don't have to do anything. I just have to disidentify from the surface consciousness, the sad thought, and to identify with the true consciousness, which is the knowing. I think if moment to moment, if I can do that, it really is a beautiful practice of identifying ourselves with true nature, true consciousness, which Mother in her prayers again and again shows us the path. And I think Jishnuji already elaborated upon how most of the times we are just an inextricable, it's so beautiful as you were saying, inextricable confusion of conflicting thoughts. One thought says this and then another one comes which is extremely opposing to the first one that came. Struggling tendencies, battling desires. And it is so frightful, as Snehi was mentioning, that it is really draining. It drains out our energy. And I think one thing of a good day where I have been able to practice well and staying rooted as the knowing or the consciousness is that we don't feel drained then. We have limitless energy for the work of the mother. But if we are totally in the domain of thoughts and feelings and lost in them, without coming to the breath and body, without relaxing in the present moment, then that day we feel very, very drained when there is too much of that activity and the centering is not happening in the present moment. So we feel this. I think all of us have experiences where we have experienced the fright of the confusing and conflicting wills. And Mother says that I must emerge. We all must emerge from this raging sea. And Mother is not talking about I have to connect dots and find resolution in the middle of chaos. And every prayer she shows us the way that we will never be able to connect dots in the head. So whatever we are trying to figure out analytically, logically, oh, this is what should have happened and that why did that not happen, but that person did that to me, but I did not do that to her. All these things that are happening, and all the time the mind is obsessively trying to connect dots. There, it's a wrong place for us. It's not there that we get solace and peace. So Mother tells us the way where we get the peaceful shore. Mother says that let me swim through this bhav sagar, as we say in Hindi, bhavnaon ka sagar, emotional overwhelm. Let me go through this, with a lot of effort, and I would conquer thee, however great may be the effort needed. So we know that there is something more beautiful, more higher, loftier waiting for us while we let go of this chaos. So it's like I'm holding tight to mother's feet while a tsunami is coming. It almost gives me an image like that a tsunami of feelings and emotions and thoughts may come from time to time, and I'm holding very tight to Mother's feet, and I'm saying, Mother, I'm not going to let go. not going to let go. And slowly we are taken to the peaceful shore. So centering, I think mindfulness of breath is a beautiful anchor. Mindfulness in mother's name is a beautiful anchor in the present moment, especially in the midst of all this overwhelm that happens from time to time because of the past impressions that have to be resolved. And if we have suffered enough, and if we are ready that yes, I don't have to go into that keychad, almost a keychad, it's like a swampy marsh where there is no hope if we want to all the time try to connect dots there. So the only way is to stay rooted in the present moment, stay rooted with mother's name like a chant, and get to a peaceful shore. Relax the mind, still the mind. And why this happens from time to time, and mother also tells us, as Jishnuji was sharing, that the root poison in Buddhism, they talk about 3 root poisons, and the most important of them is the ignorance, because without ignorance the others would not be there. Others are attachment or greed, and the other one is aversion or anger. So if I'm not ignorant of my true nature, if I'm self realized more and more deeply, then I would not work with attachment, and definitely aversion will also go away. So the root poison is the poison of ignorance. And that is why I feel that knowing ourselves and identifying ourselves with our true consciousness, it's not a luxury for a few. It's an urgency for each one of us. We cannot ignore it, because otherwise we won't change the earth that is there. We, each one of us, has to identify, do this inner work, as mother is saying, indefatigable swimmer, do put this effort, and then slowly embark upon the path of realization, which has no end, obviously, because it's infinite. So once this is dispelled, the ignorance is dispelled, the illusion is dispelled, only then we can come out of our sorrow and the nightmare can end. And I remember a friend sharing something, some experience, near-death experience. We were reading on Facebook, I guess, and she was sharing that I was told, I was enveloped in a very warm presence, and the warm presence told me that you don't die when you leave the body, you actually wake up from a dream when you leave the body. Why a dream? Because all that we receive, the impressions that we receive from sense perceptions, all the senses and the mind's interpretations, that is all a dream. It's not reality. And that's why masters tell us to come back to the present moment, connect with the body, and still the mind. Absolutely still the mind, so that the intuitive unfolding of life can have the place to be. And only when we time to time, I think in the last few lines, mother shares again, she gives us always hints and clues. From time to time, if we dip ourselves in this immutable peace, which is 24/7 present with us, then we slowly, we are not acting out of ignorance all the time, not acting out of our insecurities, not acting out from anger, jealousy, ambition, greed, desires. We are not acting out of that. Then we act from our true nature, which is the nature of kindness, compassion, love, oneness, empathy, understanding, happiness. Satchidanand, as they say, is our true nature. But easier said than done, because this is an effort, as mother says, that it's an effort needed from moment to moment. One moment I slip and gone back into ignorance. Such deep are our samskaras and impression, that a strong vigilance, relaxed vigilance is required. And I can never say that now I am over the ego. We can never say that. And the moment you say that, you are in the trap of ego again. So extreme vigilance and a lot of solidity of faith to walk on this path, because it's a never ending journey almost. Ego pops up anytime. But then we have windows of this peace where we can dip ourselves in the holy Ganges, as Kabirji says. He says that Ganga is within you. He doesn't say that go dip yourself in the outer Ganga. Of course, that has its own significance. But he says all the nadis, holy rivers, are in you. So dip yourself in there from time to time. Don't waste your time when you have windows, pockets where you can have this peace and stillness. So, yeah, I think that would be my reflection here. If there is anything, please feel free to unmute. Hence, we'll go ahead with this small prayer. It's a very small one. I think we have time. We can take this one up. So, yeah, Snehi, would you like to go ahead and also share this one for us? Read out if that's possible for you.
February 19, 1914. O Lord, be ever present in my thought. Not that I ask this of thee, for I know that thy presence is constant and sovereign. I know that all we see and all that escapes our sight is just what it is only through thy marvelous intervention, because of thy divine law of love. But I say this and repeat it. I implore, in order to escape from forgetfulness and negligence. Oh, to become thy living love so powerfully as to transfigure and illumine all things so completely as to awaken peace and benevolent satisfaction in all. Oh, to become thy divine love, pure and clear sighted, to be that always and everywhere.
Thank you, Snehi. So, Jishnuji, would you like to share a few reflections on this?
What we were discussing, yet we are not able to see at consciously. So I say, O Lord, be ever present in my thought. Not that I ask this of thee, for I know that thy presence is constant and sovereign. I know that all that we see and all that escapes our sight, that is all encompassing. Whatever we see, whatever we can think and not think, is just what it is only through thy marvelous intervention. That is, this creation has been done by you because of thy divine law of love. And here I would like to say something related. While I was working on that seminar, Monikaji, I was going through some of the materials, and where I saw that Mother said that the very point, this creation, is an act of divine because the divine decided to descend into this inconscient matter and evolving out to it. This itself is an act of supreme sacrifice. Sri Aurobindo in one of his poems wrote that you are so powerful about the divine that you have chosen to be a worm. Like Mother has said, you are everyone. Sri Aurobindo said that you are so powerful, yet you have chosen to be a worm. How humble you are. So similarly, Mother said that it is an act of divine sacrifice and love that the divine has come into matter. Otherwise, who would accept? So it's like this. Mm, do we choose to go to prison? So it is like divine is who is infinite and free is choosing himself bound by the of matter, the physical laws. That itself
Yeah, voice is breaking. Yes, Jishnuji.
Now it is fine.
Say again.
Yeah, now is it fine?
Now is better. Yeah.
Maybe it was because of some net.
Yeah.
So that, but I say this and repeat it. I implore, in order to escape from forgetfulness and negligence. And Mother is saying that I am saying all this to escape from forgetfulness and negligence. And in one of the writings I was saying, Shurvinda is saying, forgetfulness. What is forgetfulness? Forgetfulness is forgetfulness of our true self, forgetfulness of reality. I think Buddhism, Monica ji, you can correct me. Buddhism, that concept is there. Na? The pramod makes us forgetful. When we are thinking of that, when we are thinking of entertaining ourselves from outside us, like Buddhadev said, na, that it is not wrong to seek happiness. It is wrong to seek happiness outside you. So this forgetfulness and negligence, oh, to become thy living love so powerfully. And Shrivindu said another thing, that it is the tamasic nature which makes us forgetful. If we are alert, basically what is forgetful? We are becoming sloth. We are becoming lazy. If we are alert, if we are always vigilant, that's what Mother is saying, spend sleepless nights, be vigilant. If we are if we are alert, then we are not forgetful. We remember exactly the goal that we have. Oh, to become thy living love so powerfully as to transfigure and illumine all things, so completely as to awaken peace and benevolent satisfaction in all. To become thy living love so powerfully as to transfigure and illumine all things. That is to transform and light up everything, to come so completely as to awaken peace and benevolent satisfaction, which, like similar to the previous prayer we said, that when the true light awakens in us, we become peaceful. We become, there is a goodwill. I mean, if we read the life of all the spiritual people, we will see two things, that they have goodwill
Rupert,
for all.
following up on what you were just saying, the like you to
so completely to awaken peace and benevolent satisfaction in all. Oh, to become thy divine love, pure and clear-sighted, to be that and everywhere. So the aspiration is to become thy divine, to become that divine love, to be pure, to be
We
clear-sighted.
think that
That is when we become ourselves, we become pure. It is also the quote which Monica ji shared in the email, that when we become ourselves, we are the most beautiful person. When we become ourselves, we are the strong. Even if we are weak, that is, if we choose to be weak, in so many conversations, if we will see, Mother and Shurvindo, they are themselves saying that I don't know about this. They are not claiming that they know everything about everything. They know everything about everything. When something technical or something about some person they're asked, Mother and Shurvinda is humbly saying, no, I don't know. I have not done, or I have not studied, or I have not. They are not claiming because they don't have anything to prove. They don't need to show that they know everything. It is not important. To completely awaken, so to become that divine love, pure and clear-sighted, to be that always and everywhere. That would be it's a brief prayer, that would be my reflection, that to awaken, to remain awake always, to keep that flame of aspiration burning in us, to never forget that goal that we have in front of us. Not only mentally, as Mother is saying, not only mentally, but in real sense. There are so many things which we see, we read, but that does not register. Let that remembrance be a living remembrance, that at every moment we remember and we act or think as per in the light of that memory that we are seeing, that light of that goal or light of that joy we are, I won't say joy, rather if we work according to that, we will get joy. Joy is a function. If we live according to that rule or the divine rule, we will get joy, not work otherwise. That would be my reflection here.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jishnuji. I think somewhere many masters also say that too much luxury and comfort makes you really forgetful. As you were sharing, that forgetfulness or uh, resorting to all kinds of entertainment. So, and we see all of us, I think, have very alive experiences where when we are in trouble or suffering or like a razor's edge, there we really try to remember mother our best, because it's like a catch 2 situation, neither here not there, so you are as if walking on a sword. There are many a time situations that happen like that, where in order to prevent your sanity and peace, we uh, we we are able to remind ourselves of mother or whoever we have belief in more often than we would do, because often we are keeping ourselves so comfortable, so like a fragile piece of uh, china, bone china, that that we forget. We really become so tamasic and full of inertia, and this inertia is not going anywhere. This is going to stay. We have to know that from time to time the forgetfulness will come. It's a part of our nature, as for now, the nature that is present with us. Also in the physical matter, lots of inertia is there. So now that I know that I am forgetful and negligent, what can I do? I can just give myself more reminders, and otherwise suffering will come, because why suffer? I feel that suffering comes because the divine is really very compassionate, and the divine doesn't want that we live a very half-lived life in our comforts and luxuries. The divine wants us to become beautiful, as you were sharing, Vishnuji, and also the quote that shared that to be beautiful means to be truly, truly yourself. And that would relate with the psychic individuality that Mother shares. That you have to dig the psychic being in. Psychic individuality is our true individuality. Ego level individuality is a temporary one. It is also required, but it's required for a very time being. Once we are ready, then we have to go in search of the psychic being, and we have to find out our true essential individuality. And unless that is done, the divine will continue to keep on our doors from time to time. I think that is divine compassion and love, that no matter how many times I have said no, 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 the divine won't say that no will do. Just like a mother, if a child is not well, and child is saying I don't want to take medicine, mother, but the mother knows that what would work for the child. So no matter how the mother gives her, but the medicine will be given incorporated with the child, because mother knows the best. So just like that, the divine mother knows the best for us, and we will be put in situations where we are compelled to open our beautiful nature and not keep it in locks and doors in our heart. So that's the beauty of divine compassion. And I think I have something again that I want to share here on just on the first line. I'll not go with the whole prayer again, because I think Jishnuji has really elaborated beautifully. So just this first part where she shares, "O Lord, be ever present in my thought. Not that I ask this of thee, for I know that thy presence is constant and sovereign." So when Mother says, "Be ever present in my thought," and also she is sharing that I know that you're always there, I relate this with the presence of awareness and consciousness in us. Now, consciousness is 24/7 present. And how do we know that? Because that is how I am conscious of a thought, I am thinking, and I know the contents of thinking. That is how I am conscious of feelings. I know that I am feeling sad, I know that I am feeling happy. So this knowing is forever present. But Mother is asking or aspiring for us to be conscious of the consciousness. So while a thought is happening, while anger is happening, can I be aware of the anger happening? Can I know that I am thinking? Because usually when we are thinking, we don't know that we are thinking. We are just lost in the thoughts and feelings. And when I am feeling, for example, a constriction in the chest or anything, can I become also conscious that, oh, here I am with a constriction in the chest. So I am conscious of the consciousness which is making me able to see the constriction, see the feeling, the sad feeling, good feeling. So being conscious of the consciousness, as Rupert Spira also shares, being aware of being aware is where we find rest. And there are many good meditations where, after following the breath for a certain amount of time, focusing the mind on breath and body, they ask you to just be aware that you are aware and sit with that for some time, being aware of being aware. So I thought I'll just share a very short teaching again, and then after that we can end here. Yes, Jishnuji?
Monica ji, this reminds me
Hmm.
one conversation with Maharshi Raman. So one person went and asked, and we know, right? The primary thing was you find out who you are. You concentrate on who you are, and you will get all your answers. So that was a primary core teaching, central teaching. Like Mother's thing is find your psychic being. So one person said that when I am meditating, I get distracted. And then Maharshi Raman said, when you get distracted, that somebody is telling you you are getting distracted within you, right? Somebody is telling you you're getting distracted. Concentrate on that which is telling you you are getting distracted. So it is very much well like what you said. Now that I hear that you become aware of that awareness.
Yeah,
You
beautiful.
become aware of that awareness,
Yes.
and that will tell you.
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful.
That quote you sent about that which you shared in the email, right?
Yeah, it's there in front of you.
Yeah. So I remember this is about that UG, about one thing. Somebody was, so UG said, why you want to become somebody else when you are yourself so beautiful? Why you want to imitate someone else? So when I read this, I remembered that his
Yeah.
conversation, I would say.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much for bringing that up. So there are many good teachings by Rupert Spira. For example, right now in front of you, you can see being aware of being aware. I'm not going to go into all, but you can just, those of us who are interested, they can just check this out. We'll just shortly listen to this, and if some of us are in hurry, they can please leave also in case it's getting extended. So we'll just shortly listen to this one, where he shares that awareness, that is our true nature or consciousness, is forever present. It's never, we are never away from our essence. So let's listen to this shortly.
We think that the idea that awareness is ever present is only an idea, because because we believe that we really experience the coming and going of ourself and objects, that everything we experience comes and goes. In reference to that belief, we think, the possibility that awareness doesn't come and go, it's a possibility, I'm open to it, but I don't know it. But the reason we feel we don't know it is because, without realizing it, we are convinced that we experience objects that come and go. In reference to that belief, the idea that awareness is ever present is just a remote possibility that we feel we don't and can't know. In other words, we are starting with the belief that what I am comes and goes. Even the idea awareness is ever present is itself said as a concession to the belief that awareness comes and goes. And we say, no, awareness doesn't come and go. It is ever present. Even that is said from the perspective of the separate self. In other words, awareness will never say about itself, I am ever present. Because to be ever present suggests that there are other things which awareness experiences which are not ever present. In other words, they are intermittent objects. But awareness never experiences an intermittent object. So rather than presume that you are a subject that comes and goes, start with your actual experience of awareness, because as long as you're presuming that you are a subject that comes and goes, a self that comes and goes, the possibility that awareness is ever present will always evade you. It will never be, it will only be a possibility. So, but don't start with the belief that you are a self that comes and goes. And why not? Because you never experience that. What is your actual experience of yourself?
As you've said in one of your books, that I've never been turned on nor turned off.
Yes. Did you ever experience a beginning to yourself?
No.
Or an end?
No.
Or an evolution?
No.
No. So why presume that there is such a thing as an awareness that comes and goes? Why even make that presumption?
I'm not trying to be oppositional, but I would want to ask why not, because as you're actually...
Why not? Because it's not your experience. That's the answer. Why would you not make... Why do you not presume that pink elephants exist? You don't believe in pink elephants, do you?
No.
Why not? Because they're not your experience. So just use exactly the same simple logic. Why do you believe in an awareness that comes and goes, when, by your own admission, and quite rightly so, you have never experienced the coming and going of yourself? Why believe in such an entity?
There is a reason, although it may not be founded well, and that is that I see everything around me coming and going, exactly as you were saying before.
That may be so,
Right.
but the question is not about everything around you.
Mm-hmm.
The question is about you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about you may come and go.
Mm-hmm.
We can say that if we concede that everything around us is an object, then we are, in relation to that belief, we are correct to say that it comes and goes.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, even at that halfway stage, what is the you that is aware of the coming and going of all these objects? That is the question. Does that one come and go?
Thus far, no.
Okay.
I'm not. It's just I have. In my experience, is that no, I do not come, nor do I go.
Why would you refer to anything other than your experience? I mean, what is the test of reality?
Well, there's more to this mystery than what I've experienced. And that's just how it seems to me. And
Okay, well, let's just, and we're going to need to speculate a little bit here, but you've never experienced the coming and going of awareness.
Yes.
Has anybody, of course you can't answer this from your experience, so let's speculate a little bit. Has anybody ever experienced the coming and going of awareness?
I presume not.
No. Would it even be possible to experience the coming and going of awareness?
No, because there'd have to be the experiencing of that.
Perfect. So not only has nobody, not just the 7 billion of us that are around now, but the millions of us, the billions of us that have ever existed, relatively speaking, nobody has ever once, for a fraction of a second, witnessed the disappearance or the appearance of awareness. And as you quite rightly say, not only have we never done so, but we could never do so.
I see that this
Why
moment.
is it that the founding belief of our world culture, the founding belief of our world culture is the idea that I was born, evolve, and will die? Every other belief we have in our culture is dependent upon that single belief, and yet nobody has ever experienced the disappearance of themselves.
So yeah, I think I just wanted to share that we are this ever-present consciousness, awareness, as Rupert shares. I think in Mother's words also, she shares in one of the, I think in Science of Living, or can't remember where exactly, where she says that go back to your experience and see what has not gone from your life. And you would see that this consciousness has ever been there with you. You have always been this consciousness, and your body may have changed, your thoughts in the heads may have changed, feelings may have changed, stories may have changed, but this consciousness never
But
left you.
that central thing which is beyond all this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just winding up with that. I'll just close the session now. Just a second.
Yes.